Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle the engine of any economy, production. But forget the factories and boardrooms. We are going to a small imaginary village called Palampur, which has some incredibly real lessons to teach us.
So let's head to Palampur. Now, it might be a hypothetical village, but it's been perfectly designed to help us understand how stuff actually gets made. The choices people make here, from farming to starting a business, they teach us a ton about how our world creates the goods and services we all need.
So, what's Palampur like? Well, picture this. It's a pretty bustling place. We're talking 450 families, and it's not some isolated spot in the middle of nowhere. It's well connected. Most homes have electricity, powering everything from lights to the pumps that irrigate the fields. It's even got schools and health centers. This solid foundation is the stage where our whole economic story is going to play out. Okay, so how is anything actually created? I mean, whether it's a stalk of wheat or a new app on your phone, you need a specific recipe. You can't just wish things into existence, right? Well, in economics, that recipe has 4 key ingredients.
These are the absolute essentials, the 4 factors of production. First, you need land. That's all the natural resources. Then you need labor, the actual people doing the work. Third is physical capital. Think of this as the tools and equipment that help us get the job done. And finally, there's human capital. That's the know-how, the knowledge that brings it all together. For our trip to Palampur, we're really going to zoom in on the first 3, land, labor, and capital. But let's break down that third ingredient, capital, because it's not all the same. You've got fixed capital. This is the big, long-lasting stuff, like a tractor or a building that you use over and over for years. And then you have working capital. These are the things you use up in one go, like seeds, fertilizer, or just plain old cash. You absolutely need both.
All right, so we've got our ingredients. Let's see them in action. The farmers in Palampur are up against a problem that farmers all over the world know all too well. They want to produce more, but they're working with a resource that is, well, fundamentally limited. And here is their biggest constraint. Since 1960, the amount of new farmland that's been created in Palampur is 0, zilch, nada. They've already cultivated every single available inch. So the big question is, if you can't get more land, how do you get more from the land you already have? Well, the farmers of Palampur got really creative. They focused on 2 main strategies. First up, multiple cropping. Thanks to good irrigation, they can grow 2, sometimes even 3 different crops on the same field in just 1 year. But the second one, that was a total game changer, adopting modern farming methods from the Green Revolution, especially using these special high-yielding variety seeds. And the impact of those new seeds was just, wow, it was staggering. With traditional seeds, they were getting about 1,300 kilograms of wheat per hectare, but with the new HYV seeds, that number exploded to 3,200 kilograms. They more than doubled their output from the exact same piece of land. I mean, what a massive success. But, there's always a but, right? This incredible progress came with a pretty steep hidden cost. The very things that created this boom, the heavy use of chemical fertilizers and constant irrigation, they started to damage the land itself. The soil lost fertility, the water table dropped. A tough reminder that once you destroy natural resources, they are incredibly hard, sometimes impossible to get back. And it wasn't just the land that was feeling the strain. The community was too. This newfound prosperity, it wasn't shared equally by everyone. When you look closer, you find that just beneath that surface of progress, Palampur is a village of deep economic divides. And it all comes down to its most important resource, land. Just look at this chart. The reality of who owns the land is stark. A full third of the families in Palampur own no land at all. Over half are small farmers, trying to make a living on tiny little plots. Meanwhile, just 60 families, that's a small elite, they control the majority of the village's farmland. This inequality, it shapes absolutely everything. So what does this mean for people with no land? Well, it's a constant struggle. Meet Dalla. He's a farm laborer, which means he has to look for work every single day. Now, the government has set a minimum wage of 300 rupees a day. But there's so many laborers competing for so few jobs that people are forced to work for much, much less. Dalla only gets 160 rupees, barely half the legal minimum wage. And for small farmers, the big challenge is capital.
This is Savita. She needs 3,000 rupees for seeds and fertilizer, but she has no savings, so she has to borrow from a large landowner, a guy named Tejpal Singh. And his terms, they're crushing. A 24% interest rate for just 4 months. And on top of that, she has to promise to work on his farm during harvest season for a measly 100 rupees a day. She's completely trapped.
And here is the other side of that story. Tejpal Singh, the large farmer who lent Savita money, he has a surplus of 350 quintals of wheat to sell. With his profit, he can save, he can lend out more money, and, this is key, he can reinvest in more fixed capital, like buying another tractor. That just makes him even more productive, and it widens the gap even further. Okay, so farming is clearly the heart of Palampur, but it's not the whole story, not by a long shot. About a quarter of the people there are doing something else for a living. So let's take a look at how the village economy is starting to branch out. You've got people like Mishra Lal. He saw a smart opportunity in small-scale manufacturing. He bought a mechanical sugarcane crusher. So now, instead of just selling raw sugarcane, he processes it into jaggery. By adding that value, he can sell the finished product to traders and make a much better profit. Then there's Kareem, a real entrepreneur. He noticed all the students were traveling to the next town just for computer classes, and he saw a need right there in the village. So he invested in the local human capital, hiring 2 qualified women to open up his own computer center. He's providing a modern service and creating skilled jobs right there in Palampur. And finally, we have Kishora. He used to be a farm laborer, just struggling to get by, but he managed to get a loan from a government program, bought a buffalo and a cart, and jumped into the transport business. Now he earns more by hauling everything from milk to jaggery, connecting Palampur's producers to all the nearby markets. So, we've walked through the fields, we've met the people, we've seen the businesses of Palampur. What's the big picture? What are the really crucial lessons this one little village has taught us about how economics works? Really, the story of Palampur is the story of economic development in a nutshell. It shows us that human ingenuity, like the Green Revolution, can create incredible growth, even from scarce resources. But it also slams home the reality that this growth is rarely shared equally. Access to capital is the key that unlocks opportunity, a key that people like Tejpal Singh hold, while Savita and landless laborers like Dala are left struggling to even find the door. And that leaves us with the big question. It's a question that echoes far beyond the fields of this imaginary village and applies to our entire global economy. We know how to create growth. The real challenge, the one we all face, is how do we build a future where that growth lifts everyone up?